is an app in which you can type or write and complete different exercises. You can write essays or reports, and you can do complete different types of exercises. So in the app, if we start with the middle section, which shows the different tools the app has, we'll start with the T, which is for text. And with this tool, you can type everything. And if you use the tool next to it, by touching it, you can write with a stylus or with your finger. If you click the middle icon, it's a marker, and you can use that as a highlighter. You can pick a different color, and you can go over what you wrote. You can also pick different widths for each of these to make your writing thicker. And back to smaller so that you can go over smaller text. Then next to it we have an eraser, which allows you to erase big areas or also smaller areas or things that you have gone over text with. The scissors icons allows you to cut major areas by circling around it. Once you see the dotted lines, you touch the area and a little bar will show up where you can click cut to cut that section out. Next to that middle section where all the tools, you can see a microphone. And with that microphone, you can record yourself or you can record somebody else. And once you have recorded someone by clicking that microphone, a play button will show up right next to it. So you can click the play button to hear yourself or hear the recording, and another bar will pop up right below. And starting from the left on this bar, you can see this little, I don't know, old-fashioned tape looking like icon, and it will list all the recordings. So you can do recordings in different sections. And by touching on the recordings numbered, you can play each one when you need to. You can also edit those recordings by clicking edit and then deleting them by clicking the minus button, and then the delete button will pop up. You just touch that and that will delete it, and you also can see that the bar right below the top one disappeared and will reappear once you have a recording or once you play a recording. Farther to the right from the microphone, you can see a plus sign, and with this plus sign you can incorporate different media into your notes. You can include photos by clicking photos, and you will see that your saved photos show up from your iPad, and so you can pick a photo to add into your note. And so you can see that there are 4 little dots around this image, and you can enlarge it or make it smaller. And there are a few different things you can do with it. You can edit it, and a bigger screen will pop up. And so you can do a few things with this. You can draw over the image by clicking the dot, and then a bar will show up that you can change the width of that dot so that your markings will be either smaller at the bottom or larger towards the top. And then you can draw or write over the picture. You can also edit the picture by clicking the icon next to the dot, which would allow you to pick a different area of the picture that you would like by moving the dots, and then that's the only section that's going to be used. Once you are done, you click done, and the picture that you edited is the one that's going to show up in your note. Next to the plus sign at the top right, we have a wrench, and it allows you to use different utilities. So if you click paper, you will see that you can pick different color backgrounds for your note. You can also pick lines on the right there to have lines on your paper, and you can also click graph style paper for subjects like math. And next to that wrench, we have this little icon that looks like layered pages. And so once you click those layered pages, a column shows up on the right where you can see the different pages you might be working on. And you can add a page right after the one you've been working on by clicking the plus sign. And it says add a page above or below. And you can choose, if you've added page below, it would be the next page, page number 2. And if you would like to delete one of those pages, you click the X, and that's what that will allow you to do. Either you delete the page or you can clear it to work on it some more. And the icon right on the right of that column, which is like a magnifying glass, allows you to search for the different titled pages you may have worked on. So you can type in the search bar there, and actually you would pick search, and we have no results because there's nothing in there. And if you look at the bottom of the page, on the very bottom right, we have a little hand icon, and that hand is so that you can pull up a what is called a wrist guard. And this wrist guard will move up and down for when you are using the pencil icon to do writing on your notes. Your wrist will lay on the iPad screen and not make any markings or move the page so that you cannot make any markings. And so you can lower that screen or put it up higher as you need. And if we go back, right next to that little icon, we have a magnifying glass with a squiggle through it. And that's a zoom type of button where you can zoom into any area of your note to either type more clearly or write more clearly or see things more clearly. For example, if you pick this area here and I want to write something very small and neat, you can see that I can write in there. Okay, and you also have different options of the same options that you have at the top, except the typing one, so that you can go over those different things or erase little tiny areas. But as you can see, it doesn't erase the graph paper, it only erases the writing that I did. And you can also use the scissors to cut certain areas. If I don't like this one spot, I can cut it out, or so I thought. Oh. Well, maybe that works in a different way. The arrow right next to it that's pointing to go back allows you to undo something or redo something. So I had already deleted that, so I want that done. And so I click redo, but if I want that back, I click undo. Okay, and let's get out of the zoom by clicking that magnifying glass again, and also put down the wrist guard by pushing it down a little bit. If you look at the top left, the second icon, which is a little box and an arrow, allows you to do a few different things. It's to send these notes, and specifically the one you're working on. So you can email it by clicking email, and you will see different versions of it. So you can send it as a PDF version, and you would click PDF, and then you have an option to send it as an RTF version or a note version. Now, the PDF and the RTF versions are probably the best options to send to a computer for printing, but the note version is probably the best one to send through the iPads to other students or other teachers, especially if you've included a recording so that they can have the same options that you would do to edit something on their document. So once you've picked the one you would like, you click back on the top left and you would email the notes. And once you click email the notes, you will see a little screen pop up that has gives you the ability to send an email. You enter to whom, the title, and it's already in there. As you can see, it says title.pdf, and you can send. This one I will cancel to come out, and you can delete the draft or save it also if you'd like to save it later, or if you've changed your mind. Now, if you look at the very top left, there's a little icon that looks like a little bookshelf with some little books in there, or that's what I think, using my imagination. And it takes you back to one of the beginning screens of Notability. And in here, you can see all of the different notes that you've made, and you can organize them. You can also send different notes. As I just finished sending that one I was working with, you can click a few to send. So let's start with the organization of this. If you look at the top left where it says all, you can click all and it shows you all the notes that you have made. If you click the word unfiled, you will only see the notes that have not been filed into different categories, which you can see right below the word all and unfiled with the plus sign. And so if you see, I have a couple different categories here. One is Realidades, which is our textbook, and it says Capítulo 4, and there are 7 notes. That's what the 7 is for. And so in here are all my notes that have to do with this subject. And in here, in this file where it says Cinco de Mayo, are some notes that were made for Cinco de Mayo. So you can come up with your own categories by clicking, you can come up with your own categories by clicking the little plus sign, and it says organize, and you can add the different subjects there. And click subject, and you have a subject. And you can add notes in here by going back to unfiled and clicking right next to the plus. If you follow the bar where it says unfiled notes to the right, you will see an arrow that goes up. And you can see that the notes can be sorted in different ways, and you can export them. Oh, never mind that. Okay, you can also search for something by clicking the magnifying glass and entering some keywords, like R for, let's see, Realidades, which is a whole different category, so you won't be able to find any notes under that title. So you'd have to search for notes that are in this section to be able to find them, like iPad. And you can see that the note came up. And there it is, it highlights it for you. Let's see, if you look at the very top right was the icon which we started with to write a new note. But next to that, we have an importing button from which you can import into other apps like Dropbox or Google Drive. Once you click out of that, that screen will disappear. On the top left, we have another square with the arrow coming out, and that's for sharing by email or through Dropbox also, but that one you would have to click. Oh, there we go. So there you saw that the little check mark appeared on the picture of the note, and that's how you'd have to click that box again with the arrow, and then it gives you the destination. You can email it or share it through Dropbox or Google Drive, and a few other options. Or open in another app, which is one of the good ones that we can use on the same iPad. It gives you a few different options where to open it. So different little screens will pop up giving you the options. And so you can open this same note in another app like New Annotate or Kindle, and again in Dropbox or Google Drive. You can also edit these by clicking the edit button, and you can either throw it away in the little trash can, and so we'll permanently delete it, or you can change the title. And what does this one do? Oh, that doesn't work. Here we're starting with all the different notes I have in the different categories. And if you see at the top of the section, you can see which category I'm in. And so I'm going to choose this first activity by just clicking it and touching it. It will open up. And my intentions here were to read a passage from our textbook to the students so they can listen to the Spanish slowly and carefully by listening to a recording. And again, if you look at the top on the bar, you can see the microphone, and clicking the play button will play the recording that I had already, that I emailed to the students along in the Notability app. And so what I did was read the textbook, which I included a picture here by when I first made this by using the plus sign on the very top right, which allowed me to include the photo I took with the iPad. And then I kind of made it smaller to fit into the page, and I wrote text around it. Right above it, I named the activity and labeled it, titled it just like our textbook. And that's what I titled my note to help me remember what this note is about. It's activity 19 that was part of our book. And so if you look below, and actually to scroll down in Notability, down the page, you have to use both fingers and push either up or down. And you can see on the right there that I have numbers. And so on these numbers, the students are supposed to write their answers to the questions that were in our textbook. And so once you have clicked the T, you can see that this keyboard will pop up, and you can type. The students and everyone can actually type into it. And once they are done, the students send it back to me. And they can change their title to give me their name, whoever the student is. That way I know when I get the email, it'll show as a subject. But let's get out of the keyboard so that I can try and email it out. So if you, to email it out, you look at the icons on the top left, and you click the one with the little box and the arrow, and you can email it. And I always ask the students to email that back to me instead of a PDF file as a note, so that in case I would like to edit their work, I can edit it by having had the same type of email right back to me. So I will cancel this, and you can see that the subject is named there with the student's name or what they wrote in there. And what other things they could do also is if you use the highlighter, which I showed you earlier, they can highlight important parts of the text. And remember that you can change the width of the writing tool. And so they can go through and highlight something on the photo, or highlight something that was part of the text that I wrote, or highlight some part of their text for themselves. They can also add to the different recordings by, they can actually add to the recording themselves, and once they have, you will see that the recordings are also numbered. The ones that I sent them will be first, and then the ones they have included will be listed, the numbers after.
Deportivo León, Parque de la Independencia. ¿Te gustan los deportes? Puedes practicar con uno de nuestros expertos. ¿Juegas bien o juegas mal? No importa, hay un deporte para ti. 8. El fútbol. 8. El voleibol.
Okay, here I'm going to choose another example. So I'm going to pick this one here by tapping it, and it will open up. This is another note that I had sent the students to get some work done. It's work from our textbook, but I added it to Notability. And so first I had them listen to a recording of me reading some of the text pages so they can hear everything in Spanish the way it's supposed to be. And I asked them to make notes just to check their understanding of the Spanish they've learned and worked on. And if you scroll down with your two fingers a little bit below, you can see that I have activity 1 and activity 2. And so right below activity 1, I wrote to them, listen to recording 2, so they can click the microphone and they can see the different recordings set up in the bar right below it. And so they're going to listen to this recording and they are going to hear somebody describing things that they like to do on each day of the week. And so I included this, this graph here that you can kind of edit, by making sure it's on the T for text. And so you can see the 4 little squares pop up, so you can make it smaller, make it larger. You can add a note where it says add a caption. You will see the keyboard pop up. And again, when the students are going to work on this, or when you want to write in this box, you have to make sure that those little 4 dots disappear by touching around it. And so if I click the pencil tool, I can start to draw. And so the students were to draw a picture of each sport they heard about. And so in box number 1, they drew something like a football, if that was the sport that was being talked about. And that was that assignment for them. And so for activity 2, they had to listen to a recording where they heard a few people talking about their feelings. And so for this, they just had to list the different adjectives. And you need to make sure that you are clicking the correct tools. So you have to check that it's on the T for text. And there they can type their answers. If you noticed when I was touching the screen with my 2 fingers, not only will you scroll up or down, but also you can view the whole page or zoom in like that. So you squeeze your 2 fingers together to zoom out, and you spread your 2 fingers apart to zoom in, which is something that you can also do like I showed you earlier at the bottom of the page, and it disappeared. Okay, never mind that. And if you also look at the that bottom right corner, you can see there's a 1 over a 1. And if you have more than 1 pages, it would say 1 over 2. And let's try to add 2 pages, just so that I can show you. Remember, you add a page by clicking the plus sign and add a page below, and so now we have 2 pages. And so if you zoom out of that, you can see that on the bottom right now it says 2 out of 2, so you have that second page, and if you scroll up with your fingers, you can see the first page again. End of example 2.